WWE recently released a DVD on the greatest factions in wrestling history, so I thought it'd only be fitting to do a video on my favorite faction in WWE history. And there's the Four Horsemen, there's the NWO, and both are great factions. I love the NWO. I own an NWO t-shirt. I bought it on WWE.com just a few months ago. But it's hard to say that any of those factions are my favorite in history because I wasn't around for them. And of course, as many people know, I started watching wrestling in April of 2008. So I'm just going by my favorite factions since I started watching. Not any of the past factions. Like it's saying like my favorite WrestleMania is WrestleMania 17 or 18. I wasn't a fan for any of those WrestleManias. I've gone back and watched them, but I wasn't a fan for them, so it's hard to say that they're my favorites. So just keep that in mind while watching this video. But bottom line, my favorite faction in WWE history since I started watching, as you can tell from the title, is the Nexus. The Nexus first debuted in June of 2010, and I'll never forget that night when they debuted on Monday Night Raw. It had come after, I think, a 4-month season of WWE NXT when it was first a competition show. And people always say, oh, seasons 1 and 2 of NXT, of the 5 seasons they had, were the best ones. And I can agree with that, but if you go back and watch seasons 1 and 2 of NXT, more so season 1, it composed of a lot of shit. Like a lot of joke stuff that they made the competitors do, like doing all these stupid challenges and stuff like that. Wade Barrett, Daniel Bryan, and many others have gone on the record and talked about this before, but they did so many stupid challenges that did nothing to enhance their skills as a superstar or whatever. It was basically just management making a joke out of all of them. And it was really oddly structured. It went on for like 3 months before there was finally elimination, like 3 months into the show in like May. And all the eliminations were like rapid fire from that point forward before the season finale, I think on June 1st, 2010, only a day before my birthday. And that season was won by none other than Wade Barrett. And Wade Barrett won that. He got a contract on either Raw or SmackDown and a championship match at any title of his choosing. So that happened, and then you fast forward 6 nights later to the People Power? I think it was Viewer's Choice. There were 2 similar concepts that WWE has done in the past after Cyber Sunday was gotten rid of a couple years ago. But anyway, so I think it was the Viewer's Choice episode of Monday Night Raw, June 7th, 2010. The show itself was very shitty. There was the Hart Dynasty versus the fucking Great Khali and Hornswoggle. Edge and Orton faced off with Orton having his arm tied behind his back. There was a lot of stupid shit on that show, and it seemed like it would be one of the worst episodes of Raw in recent memory. But I don't know if WWE did that on purpose or what. But because that show was so bad, it made the ending segment that much better. It made it that much more shocking. And it reminds me a lot of the most recent episode of Raw on June 2nd of 2014. The entire show was pretty much put you to sleep, except for Batista quitting and then the main event with or what was supposed to be the main event with Seth Rollins turning on the Shield. That entire show was just put you to sleep. It was boring as fuck, especially coming off of a hot pay-per-view and Payback. So it was a lot like this show in that sense, in that the Viewer's Choice episode was so bad it made this angle it made it stand out that much more. So we come to the main event. John Cena, I think the WWE champion at the time, he could either face one of 3 men as voted by the fans, Jack Swagger, Rey Mysterio, which I personally voted for, or CM Punk. CM Punk was voted into that matchup. Why? I have no idea. He was a heel at the time, so I don't know why fans would have voted for that. But it was a very, very good match while it lasted. It didn't last very long, but it was a good matchup. Batista and Cena have always had excellent matches, and this was before their summer-long feud in 2011. So the match is going on. Out comes through the crowd Wade Barrett with a Nexus armband on, which I do own. I should have gotten it for this video, but god damn it, I forgot about it. But anyway, so Wade Barrett comes out through the crowd, as does every other member of the first season of NXT. Daniel Bryan, Heath Slater, Justin Gabriel, David Otunga, Darren Young, Skip Sheffield, who am I missing? Michael Tarver, and of course Wade Barrett as the leader. So they come down, they circle the ring in the barricade, but they come through the crowd. They jump the barricade, get into the ring, circle the ring. knock out the referee, David Otunga does. They go right after John Cena, then start attacking the commentators, Matt Stryker, Jerry Lawler. Michael Cole busts out of there. He runs out. They start beating up the security at ringside. They choked Justin Roberts. And what was a very infamous angle, of course, because Daniel Bryan choked a shirtless Justin Roberts with his own tie, and it caused the necktie violence that got Daniel Bryan fired a couple days later. And I do actually own, they had made very limited editions of the t-shirt, but it said "Stop the Necktie Violence," and they made very limited number of them, and ended up getting one, I think, about a year and a half later at some indie show. But anyway, though, that was an awesome visual. John Cena getting spit in the face by Daniel Bryan, which would also help set up their feud a couple years later, which was also cool, of like a little foreshadowing of what was to come. And and years later, like I said, at SummerSlam 2013. But anyway, so they do that. They completely destroy the ring, destroy John Cena. They all do their finishers on him, and then just walk away. And the show just goes off the air. Now, I did not watch it live because, like I said, the show was so fucking bad because I was watching, I think, the first or 2 hour live, and then I fell asleep, I think, during the Edge and Orton match because that was bad, too, with Edge attacking Orton with his arm tied behind his back and whatever that shit was. So that happened. And that completely bored me to tears, so I just went to bed. And what I usually did back at that point, and this was before all the websites were out and all that kind of stuff, and WWE uploaded clips of their YouTube channel and stuff like that, what I would do is go onto YouTube and find Raw in chunks, because people uploaded Raw in parts. Maybe they still do that, I don't know. But that's what I did. I rarely ever during this point in time, and I think this was my freshman year of high school, I didn't go to bed all that late, and I never really stayed up to watch Raw in its entirety. And that was before all the spoilers and shit. That was before Facebook, Twitter, and everything else like that. So I didn't really care about being spoiled because there was really nothing to spoil it for me. So the next morning, I watched the remainder of Raw, and I think it was right before I went to school. And I watched that angle, and I started freaking the fuck out because it was so awesome. And I had never seen anything like that before. And I was extremely intrigued as to what they were going to be doing with this Nexus angle. And in the subsequent weeks, they did a great job with it. They continued to build up intrigue. They were booked strongly. They attacked legends, superstars. You name it, you name them, they attacked them. I don't think they attacked any women, but they did attack every superstar that came in their path. And it was a great angle. They cost John Cena the WWE Championship at Capital Punishment, and once again at Money in the Bank. Even going into July, they were a hot faction. They were still booked like crazy. They were still booked in awesome fashion, attacking everyone, getting great heat from the crowd. I think that was before they started selling the Nexus t-shirts, but those were a big seller on WWE.com for a very long time. I was unable to buy a Nexus t-shirt, but like I said, I do have the armband, which I should have gotten for this video, but I forgot. But anyway, even going into July, they were the most exciting thing to watch Raw for, and ever since we've had a great summer feud or summer angle, and the Nexus was that summer angle. And they did a great job with it. People were wondering who was going to be the leader of it all. There was never really a leader, aside from Wade Barrett. Some people thought there would be a higher power like John Cena or a Triple H or whoever else. But regardless, though, it kept me watching Raw every single week. And this was before I had DVR and stuff like that. So if I missed the show, I may or may not have gone back and watched it on YouTube. It depended on how the show was going, what I was looking forward to seeing. And I stayed up every night during the summer just to watch Raw just for the Nexus. They were that intriguing. They were a great angle. They were a great group. They were booked perfectly. And then came SummerSlam. At SummerSlam, the match was made official. Team Nexus versus Team WWE, which was comprised of a number of different people. They changed the teams countless times going into SummerSlam. But Daniel Bryan had since been gone from the Nexus. He had been fired, so the Nexus was down to 7 superstars. Team WWE, I think, comprised of John Cena, John Morrison, R-Truth, Bret Hart, who made his return. I think Ricky Steamboat, who got attacked by the Nexus, was supposed to be on that team. But I think he had to pull out of it because he got some kind of medical issue that summer. So he hasn't wrestled since. But yeah, Cena, Morrison, R-Truth, Bret Hart, Jericho, Edge, and then the 7th guy was returning Daniel Bryan. I did not watch SummerSlam live. I was actually traveling. I think I was going to Virginia Beach that night. We were traveling. I was actually hoping to purchase this pay-per-view, have a little pay-per-view party with a couple of friends of mine, and watch SummerSlam live. But of course, because I was going on vacation that night, I was unable to do that. And so I just kept up with the live coverage on my phone as we were driving. And I heard Daniel Bryan came back. I started freaking out. I thought it was awesome, a great surprise. And no one saw that coming. I didn't think he was coming back at all. And then I was reading the results, and then I'm thinking it came. And then I read that John Cena and Daniel Bryan were the final two guys on their team. And I'm like, thank the fucking Lord. This is going to be awesome. Daniel Bryan's going to turn on Team WWE. He's going to rejoin the Nexus, or John Cena is going to turn on Daniel Bryan. And something awesome is going to happen here. It's going to be a sick swerve. The Nexus is going to go over. And then I remember reading Daniel Bryan got eliminated, and then it was down to Cena, Barrett, and Justin Gabriel. Then Cena takes out Gabriel, and then a few minutes later he takes out Barrett. Team WWE wins. Typical Cena fashion, Team WWE emerges victorious. Cena is the last man standing. And I remember being so pissed. And I love the Nexus from that point forward, but everything else that happened after, and it still was good, but it wasn't great. They ruined all their momentum with this one matchup. And even Jericho and Edge have agreed on this in the past. They've talked about it in the past. When Edge was on Jericho's podcast late last year, they were talking about this, how Jericho and Edge felt it was the wrong decision to have John Cena go over. And John Cena said, no, don't worry about it. It's fine. After the matchup, he comes through the curtain and says, we probably should have let the Nexus win. See? Exactly. So the legends know, the in-ring veterans know that the Nexus should have gone over. It was the right move, and they ruined it. And everyone knows from that point forward, the Nexus was never the same. John Cena joined at one point. That was cool. And they just dwindled the numbers after a while. The next night on Raw, they got rid of Darren Young, and Skip Sheffield got injured. Michael Tarver got injured. Like I said, John Cena got recruited, but he didn't do much. He didn't turn heel or anything like that. And he just destroyed the Nexus a couple months later. And then it got even worse. I thought it was going to take a turn for the better when CM Punk took over and renamed it the new Nexus going into 2011. But as history would show, appointing him as leader worsened the Nexus rather than making it better. He didn't really put any focus on the group. It was just kind of all about CM Punk, which is fine. But the group itself by that point had been so damaged, no one took it seriously. It only came down to Mason Ryan, David Otunga, Michael McGillicuddy, and Punk. Punk turned face that summer. Mason Ryan got injured. Otunga and McGillicuddy were on their own. They ditched the new Nexus stuff by early August of 2011, and that was it. The Nexus was done. And that was very saddening for me because I had just bought my Nexus armband from WWE.com. I think that June, actually. I think maybe 3 years ago this month. By the point that they broke up, that it was over. The Nexus was done, and it was probably for the better because they were ruining the legacy of the Nexus a year after they were initially ruined when they lost at SummerSlam in that terrible angle when they lost to Team WWE. But the Nexus forever will be my favorite WWE faction. The Shield, I don't know if you would call them a faction, but if you do technically count the Shield as a faction, I guess they would have to qualify as my favorite faction. But as of right now, the Shield, I thought this was only appropriate since the Nexus, since they debuted 4 years ago this month. I'd make a video on my memories of the Nexus, but it's still such a shame that they lost at SummerSlam. Ever since then, I've been hoping for some sort of Nexus reunion. It's not going to happen because Skip Sheffield is Ryback now, and Darren Young is on his own, and whatever else. Everyone's doing their own thing right now, and Michael Tarver's gone. But with the 7 people that are in the company right now, David Otunga isn't fucking there. I don't know what happened to him. But even still, though, the Nexus, my favorite faction of all time. It would be cool if we got to see some sort of reunion at some point with them as fan favorites because they were so over for such a long period of time. I went to a house show that October, and this was after the Nexus was already kind of losing steam, but they were still getting a lot of heat. They were still extremely over with audiences, and they just killed it all for whatever reason. So that sucked. But the Nexus, to me, will forever be my favorite faction in WWE history.